chodit. Tak jako když tady budu si, tak budu zavazet, spíš budu jenom občas plácat mezerník. Už? So let's begin. I would like to welcome you today on the, let's say, lecture or maybe briefing about what's new in the .NET, what's the future, which way we are going in .NET, or not we, the developers of .NET, maybe also we as a users of .NET. And yeah, I would tell you some hints and ideas which are quite new from last build. Let's start. Let's start with a very brief history of .NET. In late 90s, Microsoft had a lot of applications in Windows, mostly Office. They had a lot of components, different UI things, and some libraries. And it was a little bit messy, and they wanted to create some new environment for it. And that was the beginning of .NET. In the beginning, it should be on it should be over the C, but they needed to do some changes in the C, so they changed it to the C#. That's the start of it. And luckily, in the same moment, there was the US government was suing Microsoft because of monopoly behavior or suspicion from monopoly behavior. And that was the reason why they decided that they will open this like libraries. So they created the ECMA standard, and then they implemented the ECMA standard. So that was the reason why it wasn't some kind of internal Microsoft library, which would be open for other developers, but they decided to do it as a standard. So that was the beginning of .NET Framework 1. Yeah, 22 languages, one platform. Then they upgraded into .NET Framework 2 and so on and so on. So we have really a lot of versions of .NET. The current version is 4.72. I think 4.8 is on the way. It should be. Něco s tím. Počkej, já to zkusím udělat jinak to sdílení. Celá obrazovka. Jo, takhle. Jo, nekonečno, je mi to jasný. Zkuste teď. Yeah. Okay, so sorry. So currently we are in the 4.7.2. 4.8 should be in September, if I'm not wrong. So that's the current state of .NET Framework. Of course, .NET is not just .NET Framework, it's also .NET Core. About 10 years ago, or maybe less, Microsoft decided that their main source of income should be in the future the cloud services. And for cloud, the .NET Framework wasn't a really great choice because it's very heavily connected to the Microsoft Windows. So they decided to create .NET Core in general. Yeah. So .NET Core 1 is like almost 5 years old. And it was, from my perspective, it was really the beta version of .NET Core. I don't think it was suitable for real use in the real world. On the contrary, the .NET Core 2 was a fully adult system with interoperability with old libraries in and .NET Framework. Yeah, it's the way how it's done. It's called .NET Standard, but I don't want to go into the details. And another thing I would like to point out is in .NET Core 2.1, they introduce the SpanT or memory, let's call it just SpanT, which is kind of type safe pointer, let's call it. I don't want to go into the details, but I will point it out in other slides. Mono. Mono is open source implementation of ECMA standard of .NET. They started it briefly after introduction of .NET framework. There were some guys from Microsoft. Uh, they love .NET and they hate it that it's so strongly connected to Windows, so they start to implement it on their own. At the end, they created the Xamarin company, which was bought by Microsoft at the end. Nothing, not so important. But Mono is here with us still. It's used mostly by Xamarin. And the big advantage of Mono is that it's completely written in C++, and so it's very easy to compile it for any new platform you introduce. That's really important. Because it's when you start with some platform, usually the first thing you have is C++ builder. It's the first thing you create for a new platform. So from this perspective, Mono is really good for new platforms. They use it on a mobile phone. Let's see it afterwards. So that's Mono. So what's the situation right now in the .NET? .NET framework, .NET framework is slowly but surely dying. It's leaving the face for .NET, for .NET Core. .NET Core now is like almost ruling everything in .NET. Every new project should be for sure in .NET Core. There is no exceptions, and all projects in .NET frameworks, they should migrate slowly to .NET Core. Mono is used for thick clients for other platforms like iOS, Android, watchOS, whatever. It's really interesting from my perspective. If you know me, it's really interesting the compilation of Mono into the WebAssembly, which allows the whole Blazor things and the UI development in C#, like client-side development in web in C#. So Mono is used for this purpose mainly. C# is currently in 7.3 version. It's really mature programming language with a lot of features, a lot of syntax sugar, and so on. And ASP.NET Core, of course. ASP.NET Core is kind of jewel of .NET right now. It's very incredibly fast web framework. If you check out the benchmark, so right now it's one of fastest frameworks on the market, maybe the fastest of framework you can use for real, because a lot of the frameworks which are or servers which are above in the benchmark are written just for this competition. So if you not want to write your HTTP framework on your own, then the ASP.NET Core is the one. It's maybe the fastest possible choice for you. Yeah, as you can see, 8 times faster than Node.js. Don't even want to compare it to the PHP. So the very near future is .NET Core 3. .NET Core 3 will be here in September this year. This month there should be the release candidate, so we can all try how it will work. So features of .NET Core 3. New ASP.NET Core should be much more faster. The 90% of I will explain how they came to this number. I saw the whole lecture. So in few sentences, it's like they created some kind of usual way how to people use the ASP.NET Core, and then bombarded by request and check out how many memory it took and how many performance it's take from the server, it's consumed on the server. So they work very heavily on lowering memory footprint because of the garbage collection of memory is very slow. So if you want to increase the performance of your HTTP server, you need to lower the memory footprint. So this is the source of these numbers. You can think whatever you want about these numbers, but I think it will be maybe on the benchmarks with this framework. We will see where is the reality. Let's not predict the result. WPF and WinForm frameworks for writing FIC clients on the for the Windows platform will be part of .NET Core. This is done because there is a lot of application written for in WinForms and WPF, and they don't want to lose this kind of community. They don't want to cut them out, so they gave them way how to switch to the .NET Core 3. They brag that there will be new features, there will be high DPS support, because if you try to open WinForm application in 4K, good luck, you will see nothing. And they claim that there will be 30% increase of performance. I don't know, we will see. Yeah, for us as developers, the C# features are the biggest thing, I guess. No label reference type. So from C#8, you will have option to have not null reference type or no label reference type. It's a really big deal. I'm really curious how it will work out in the reality. I was one of the people who call for it really, really a lot. They planned for C#7, but they were not able to deliver it. However, there will be default implementation for interface methods. It's stealed from Java. Pattern matching, it's stealed from F#. So instead of switch, you can use pattern matching. It's quite strong tool. Asynchronous streams, ranges, and indices. The ranges are very interesting. It will maybe it will be replacement for substring. It could change a lot of things in your code. I'm really interesting to see how it will look like. Next thing, they introduced the JSON.NET, or what's their name, Newston JSON, into the .NET Core. There is some deal about it. I don't know details, but the reason why to do it is because of current JSON. It's not so fast as they would like to. Especially because it's written in older version of .NET, and it's not using the span-T or memory-T. This is the first problem, and second problem is that it's not asynchronous. So if you are getting data from HTTP and you are deserializing as a stream, everything will be asynchronous with the exception of JSON deserializer. So the JSON deserializer will block your thread during the getting data, and everything else will leave your thread open for other connections. So this is the two big problems with current JSON serializer, and the guy who is taking care about the current JSON serializer had no strength to do it. So that's the reason why they introduced it into .NET. And another thing is that this is the library which you always install in every project technically right now. So it should be part of SDK. HTTP2 support, garbage collection optimization, of course. For me, it's very important that Entity Framework 6.3 will be supported by .NET Core. So even if you use Entity Framework 6 family, you can switch to the .NET Core, which we are planning on our project really soon. So What are the current issues of .NET? There are three separate implementation of .NET. .NET, I don't know, virtual machine, let's call it. I don't know how we want to call it. It's a little bit messy. Technically we need just one good, not three with a problem which every of them has some issues, some pluses, some cons, and some pros. The example of this problem is the Spanty. It's just in .NET Core 2.1. It was introduced in .NET Core 2.1, and they don't plan it to add it into the .NET framework at all. They don't plan it to add it into the Mono either. So, and it's really good thing. It's a problem when you have free frameworks. So we should simplify this free framework somehow. Another problem is that when you have free clients, then in the past nobody cares that you have installed on your Windows machine the .NET framework. It was part of Windows, so nobody cares. So when you develop the application in .NET, it was working, nobody cares, everything was fine. The problem is when you are switching to the phones or PS4 or whatever. Especially iOS hate to installing any runtime and things like that. So the problem is that on these new, let's say, devices, to have some kind of framework is no longer available. So you have to pack it into to your application. It will start before your application. It takes extra memory. It takes extra time. It's not a really perfect solution. So answer to this problem should be .NET 5. .NET 5 should end this kind of triarchy of virtual machine framework, call it whatever, however you want, and it should simplify a lot of things. How to manage it? So technically, it will be .NET Core 4, but they cut across the number 4 because of entity .NET Framework 4.x. So they want to join .NET Framework and .NET Core, so they skip number 4. And also part of the .NET 5 will be the tools and ways how to migrate from .NET Framework into .NET Core. There are still some libraries which are not, let's say, migrated into the .NET Core from .NET Framework. This should be fixed in .NET 5. I think, for example, Workflow Foundation should be part of it. I saw some repository where already people working on it. I'm not sure if it's some alpha version or if it's ready. So that's the first big thing. With .NET 5, .NET Framework is finished. Its last version will be probably the framework 4.6. The more interesting is what they will do with Mono. As I said, the Mono is runtime for the mobile phone application and PS4 application, whatever, all these devices. And it was done like when you start the application, the Mono started and then load the application and run over it. So this should be replaced by direct compilation. This will have the advantage that you can use anything from .NET Core, and it will work on every machine. It will be faster, it will take less memory, and from your perspective, right now when you're developing for Mono, you cannot use all features. It's not 100% of features are not covered in Mono. So this is the problem right now. This should be fixed. There should be Java interoperability, and Objective-C and Swift operability part of it. So .NET 5. The schedule is quite aggressive. It should be next year in on the end of the next year, probably November. And then they want to switch in some kind of TikTok system when they every second year there will be some completely new version of .NET, and every year between there should be something like I don't know, service version of .NET, LTC. I'm not sure what does it mean. I know that Ubuntu do it long-term support. Yeah, it's written there. But I know that Ubuntu do it the same way. So I guess they took the idea there. Last thing I want to point out is .NET Foundation. .NET Foundation right now is the organization which is founded by Microsoft and taking care about all development in .NET. Right now, they are trying to introduce something like self-governing. So there are some elections in this organization. Yeah, most of developers who develop on the .NET are Microsoft developers anyway. So they elect the guy who is like friends with Microsoft, but they I saw the people who are in the board right now. I know them from some conferences. They are the top dogs in .NET, technically. I think one or three people they are named by Microsoft, but generally it's like the system is independent on Microsoft. So .NET right now is not owned by Microsoft. It's just supported by Microsoft or paid or used, whatever. So I just want to point out that there is no risk of Java/Oracle problem where Oracle, both for Java and for Oracle, Java is almost useless. So they don't care about Java. And this is killing Java for, I think, 10 years. So this shouldn't ever happen. Everything in .NET is owned by this foundation. If Microsoft lose interest in .NET Foundation should continue working, and all sources are open source. They are on the GitHub. By the way, that's the reason why Microsoft bought the GitHub, because every source code of Microsoft is on GitHub anyway. So this is, I think, kind of big deal for .NET developer to be safe about the future of .NET. Okay, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it out. So .NET started as a platform for developing on .NET on Windows for Windows. This is no longer true. .NET, I think, .NET now is aiming into way to do Linux, Docker, and these things. Windows development is no longer the main goal of .NET. It's just small part of it. From the Microsoft point of view, they don't care about Windows anymore. It's a good, for me it's a bad thing. On one hand, it's a good thing. I don't know. It depends. Microsoft see their future in cloud. They hope it will be their main source of income. So from their perspective, they need really good platform which will work well in the cloud. They need the community which will be connected with this platform. They want to this will bring them money in, and through cloud they will cash this money. It's simple as that. Again, it's not like Oracle and Java. For Microsoft, .NET is key source of income because of cloud. And of course, I think this means that .NET takes best of these worlds. On one hand, it's open source with big community, everything you can check out on the internet. Any problem you have, you can check out the code. On the other hand, it's not developed by bunch of guys in smelly sheets, in smelly shirts. It's developed by big company. From point of view of developer, there are two strong languages to develop. For me, it's a C sharp. For Joker, it's F sharp. You can use a lot of languages to develop for .NET, but I don't need more than C sharp from my perspective. Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code are really probably the best development platforms on the market. So that's another good news for me and for .NET in general. And you can use .NET for develop any application on any operation system right now. Like you can when the after introducing on Blazor, you can even develop the single page application easily. But right now there is not so many platforms where you can develop the thick clients for any mobile phone or Windows and so on. So I think that future looks really bright for .NET developers. So that's about it. Any questions? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Entity Framework Core is the new, it's a rewritten Entity Framework. So Entity Framework Core is the way to go. But if you use some legacy application and you have Entity Framework 6 and you would like to switch to the .NET Core, there is a way. No. No, but right now I know that in Entity Framework Core they are developing all missing feature compared to Entity Framework 6 or all reasonable missing features. So the Entity Framework 3 should be like uh, you should be able to switch your application from Entity Framework 6 to Entity Framework 3 with some rewriting, fair enough, but you should have available all reasonable feature in Entity Framework Core. So still Entity Framework Core is the way to go. No question there. Yeah, it was the sorry, it was the question about Entity Framework 6 and Entity Framework Core. If this mean that Entity Framework Core is not a replacement for Entity Framework 6. The answer is Entity Framework Core is still a replacement for Entity Framework 6. No change there. So thank you for attention. I hope you like it.